Sagittarius, a dream about your mother wasn't just a dream. She's trying to tell you something. There are dreams that vanish with the morning light. And there are dreams that stay. Dreams that leave you waking with a lump in your throat and a whisper in your chest, like a memory you never knew you had. Sagittarius, when you dream of her, you don't forget. Not because the dream is vivid, but because it feels real. And that feeling lingers. You are one of the few signs gifted with spiritual sight, not just to look but to see. Your soul is tuned to frequencies most others never touch. And lately, something has been trying to reach you. A dream, a visitation, a voice. Perhaps your logical mind brushed it off. Perhaps you told yourself it's just grief. But your spirit knew better. Because it wasn't just a dream. It was a message. And now that message is unfolding. In today's healing transmission, we'll walk through the veil that separates worlds. We'll revisit the dream that woke something deep inside you and uncover what your mother is still trying to say. This journey isn't just about memory. It's about awakening, about listening, and most of all about trusting that love never stops speaking. If this resonates with you, even the smallest ache, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who dreams in silence, and subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom. I'm Sophia, and this space is for your soul. Let's begin. Gate 1: The strange dream. And the feeling that wouldn't leave you. It wasn't just a dream. You felt that the moment you opened your eyes. Your body was in bed, your room unchanged, but something was different. The air around you felt charged, like a song had just ended. And in your chest something stirred. A quiet ache. A lingering warmth. A presence. You saw her. Perhaps she didn't say anything. Or maybe she spoke, but the words evaporated the moment you woke. Maybe she smiled. Maybe she simply looked at you. But whatever it was, the feeling refused to fade. And Sagittarius, when your soul reacts before your mind can explain, pay attention. Because that's when the veil between the worlds has thinned. And someone you love, someone you thought you lost, has stepped through. You've always dreamed in layers. Even as a child, you traveled through symbolic landscapes, visited places that didn't exist on maps. You knew things before they happened, felt things others missed. And when your mother passed, you didn't just grieve with your eyes open. You grieved in sleep, because your spirit refused to let go the way the world expected. And so, she came to you. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of divine knowledge and expanded consciousness. You were born with a bridge in your soul, a connection between earth and sky, logic and spirit. And in dreams, that bridge becomes wide open. Especially when the dream isn't just your own. Many souls who have passed don't speak through visions or seances. They speak through dreams. Because it's there, when the ego is quiet, when the heart is raw, when the mind is at rest, that they can reach you with clarity. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's a simple image. You walking beside her on a road you don't recognize. You sitting in the kitchen you grew up in, but everything looks younger. The two of you holding hands without saying a word. And yet, when you wake, your heart knows. Something happened. Something real. You may have woken with tears on your cheeks. Or maybe you felt an unexpected calm. A peace that didn't match the chaos around you. Don't dismiss that. Don't label it coincidence. That is presence. That is your mother's spirit touching your consciousness. Just enough to remind you, I'm still here. There's a Sagittarius woman I once guided, named Raina. After losing her mother suddenly, she had a dream where she was walking through a foggy field. In the dream, she kept hearing bells but saw no one. At the center of the field was a wooden bench. She sat down, and her mother appeared, smiling, radiant but silent. They simply sat together. When Raina woke, she wept for hours, not out of fear but recognition. She didn't need to speak, she told me. Her silence said everything. I wasn't alone. You see, Sagittarius, dreams aren't just echoes of memory. They are containers of emotion, of unfinished conversations, of soul-to-soul dialogue. And for someone like you, whose spirit is constantly journeying, dreams become sacred ground, a place of reunion, of remembrance, of return. But what makes these dreams different from ordinary ones is the feeling that follows. You don't shake them off. You carry them all day, sometimes for weeks. They touch parts of you words can't reach. And sometimes they change things, subtly at first. You begin to move differently, Think differently. Maybe you pick up that book she used to love. Maybe you finally forgive yourself for something she would have wanted you to release. Maybe you stop being afraid of a truth you've been avoiding. That's how you know it wasn't just a dream. It didn't end when you woke up. It began. This is the beauty and the mystery of being Sagittarius. The universe doesn't speak to you through logic alone. It uses symbols, feelings, dreams. And in those spaces, your mother still finds you, because she knows how your soul listens. And even if you've only had that one dream years ago, fleeting as wind, it's enough. You were never meant to understand it all at once. You were meant to feel it. Let it plant something inside you. Let it open the door. Because this was only the beginning. A message was sent. And now it's time to begin listening. Gate 2. Decoding the dream. The message from her spirit. Sagittarius. When a mother returns to you in a dream, it is never without purpose. It might seem vague in the moment. Images that don't make sense. A sentence that ends before it's finished. A setting you've never seen before. But this is how spirits speak. Not in linear timelines or perfect sentences, but in symbols, energy, and emotion. The dream may have felt surreal, but your heart recognized it as something more. A message. And not just any message. A message just for you. Because your mother knows the language your soul speaks. She's always known. She spoke it when you were a child, when she comforted you without words, when she looked at you and instantly knew what you were feeling. And now, from the other side, that language continues. In dreams, you may not have remembered her exact words. But how did you feel when she looked at you? Was there urgency? Was there peace? Was there sorrow in her eyes? Or a knowing smile that calmed you instantly? These are the clues. Because dreams are doorways. And in your dream, Sagittarius, she stepped through to offer you something. Perhaps it was a warning, subtle but loving. Perhaps it was reassurance. Or maybe it was unfinished business. A final thread that needed to be tied. I once guided a Sagittarius man named Kieran, who dreamed of his mother nearly a year after her passing. In the dream, they were in a train station. She handed him a letter, but before he could read it, the train pulled away. He woke up with the distinct feeling of missing something vital. And for days it haunted him. What was in the letter? Through reflection, meditation, and deep journaling, he began to uncover the truth. He had been neglecting a part of himself, his creativity, which his mother had always nurtured. She hadn't come to deliver a literal letter. She came to hand back a part of him he had let go when she died. The message was clear. Don't abandon yourself just because I'm gone. Sagittarius, this is the kind of soul depth your dreams are capable of. Your mother's spirit is not constrained by time. She comes when you are ready to receive. She knows when your fire has dimmed, when you've veered off course, when you've silenced your truth to fit into a world that doesn't always understand you. And through the dream realm, she offers what no one else can: perspective from the other side. Sometimes the dream will contain a place, a garden, a mountain, an old home. These are not random backdrops. They are mirrors, metaphors. A garden could symbolize growth you've been avoiding. A locked door could represent something in your heart you've shut down. Her presence within that space is her way of saying, I see you. I know where you are. And there's something especially sacred about the dreams that come when you're on the edge of change. When you're close to a decision, or silently suffering without telling anyone. Her soul feels it. Sagittarius is known for being outwardly strong, often hiding the vulnerable parts for fear of being seen as weak. But a mother's spirit sees through that. She comes into your dreams not to fix you, but to reach you, beneath the masks, beneath the fire, straight into the raw truth of your being. One woman I worked with, also a Sagittarius, told me she kept dreaming of her mother sitting quietly in a rocking chair, facing away from her. No words, no movement, just presence. First she felt frustrated. Why won't she say something? She asked. But over time she began to realize the dream wasn't about words. It was about comfort. Her mother was simply there. The dream was an energetic embrace. And when she accepted that, she began to sleep better. Her anxiety softened. She felt less alone. Not every message is a grand revelation. Some are simply this: you are loved. Still. Now. Always. Sagittarius, your gift is your intuition. You've always known when something isn't just a coincidence. So don't doubt yourself now. If your mother appeared in your dream, it was intentional. Whether it was to guide, protect, or awaken something within you, the message is real. And if you're not sure what she was trying to tell you, start with this. What did the dream stir inside you? What emotion lingered when you woke? What part of your life began to shift after that night? Because dreams don't always give you the whole message at once. Sometimes they plant a seed that blooms over time. Your role is not to force understanding, but to stay open. To allow your soul to receive more than your mind can explain. This is what it means to decode a dream. Not to translate it into logic, but to feel its purpose. To recognize that your mother's love transcends death, time, language, and continues to reach for you through the most sacred dimension of all, the heart. She came because you're ready. Ready to remember. Ready to realign. Ready to listen again. And Sagittarius, this is only the beginning. Gate 3, remembrance, what she wants you to recall. Memory is not just a storage of the past. For the soul, memory is a sacred bridge. One that reconnects you to moments that shaped your becoming. And when your mother enters your dream, Sagittarius, she is not always there to speak of what will be. Often she returns to awaken what was. Something you may have forgotten, but something your soul still remembers. Her message comes not just through the dream, but through what the dream unlocks. It may begin subtly. You wake from sleep and go about your day, and suddenly, a memory floats into your awareness. You smell the soup she used to make. You hear a song she always hummed when cleaning. You see a photograph and for a moment you're transported back to the warmth of a morning kitchen, her fingers combing your hair, her laughter echoing down the hallway. You weren't trying to remember. The memory found you. And Sagittarius, this is important. It found you because she sent it. There is a reason these particular fragments of the past arise after she visits you in dreams. She's not trying to make you nostalgic. She's trying to re-anchor you, to bring you back into alignment with a part of yourself you may have left behind in the name of growth, survival, or independence. Because let's be honest, your journey has not been linear. You've taken detours, made sacrifices, chased meaning even when it meant letting go of parts of your past. That's the Sagittarius way. Ever forward, ever upward. But now her soul whispers from the other side. To truly know where you're going, you must remember who you are. And who you are begins with her. You might remember a phrase she always said to you when you were scared. You might recall the way she looked at you when you doubted yourself. You might even feel the touch of her hand. The way she always placed it over your heart when you cried as a child. These aren't just sentimental fragments. They are threads of identity. They are truths about who you were before the world demanded you become someone else. I once worked with a Sagittarius woman named Celine. Her mother had passed 10 years earlier, and for most of that time she thought she had moved on. She rarely dreamed of her mother, rarely spoke of her. Until one night, she had a dream so vivid it left her breathless. In the dream, she was standing in their old backyard, and her mother was hanging laundry on the line. Celine approached, confused, and asked, "Why are you here?" Her mother looked over her shoulder, smiled, and said, "Because you forgot where your joy lives." Celine woke in tears. Not from grief, but from recognition. That backyard had been the place where she first discovered her love for singing. She used to perform made-up songs to the laundry, while her mother clapped and danced along. But life had pulled her in a different direction. Practical jobs, broken dreams, lost confidence. And now her mother had returned, not to talk about death, but to remind her of life. That's the sacred function of remembrance, Sagittarius. Your mother isn't clinging to the past. She's reawakening the parts of you that still matter, the ones that will serve your journey going forward. You see, there are moments in childhood that stay sealed in the heart, waiting for the day you'll need their wisdom again. A glance she gave you when you were about to give up. The way she defended you when others misunderstood you. The way she saw your essence before the world tried to change it. These moments may seem small, but they carry codes. They carry instructions for the times you feel lost, disconnected, unsure of who you've become. Her dream visits are not meant to haunt. They are meant to restore. Sometimes the memories are bittersweet. Maybe there were things left unsaid. Maybe the relationship was complicated. Maybe you carry guilt for something that happened in her final years. If so, her appearance in your dream may not just bring light, it may stir pain. But even that is part of the message. because healing is layered. And her soul knows you are strong enough now to face what you once tucked away. The dream becomes a safe place to revisit those old wounds, not to relive them, but to finally begin releasing them. Another Sagittarius man I spoke with, Daniel, told me of a recurring dream he had. In it, he and his mother were always walking down a hallway, but she kept vanishing before he could reach her. Over time, he realized this dream mirrored the emotional distance they'd shared in her final months, when illness and misunderstanding had clouded their bond. One night, in a final version of the dream, he reached her. She didn't say a word. She simply took his hand and held it. When he woke, he cried for the first time in years. "I didn't realize how much I needed that gesture," he said. "It told me everything words couldn't." Sagittarius, your mother may be using dreams to repair what was broken, or to honor what was whole, or to pass on something you weren't ready to receive while she was still here. Sometimes it's a truth. Sometimes it's a blessing. Sometimes it's a reminder that her love was never conditional. And maybe, just maybe, it's to remind you that your deepest strength was never in what you've accomplished, but in what you've carried forward. Because now, you're the one remembering. You're the one who tells her stories. You're the one who honors her essence in the way you live, love, and lead. And she sees that. So don't be afraid to let the memories flood you. Don't be afraid to sit with her energy when it comes. Don't push away the dream just because you can't explain it. Instead ask, what is she bringing me back to? What part of myself have I outgrown or forgotten or silenced? And what does her memory want me to reclaim? The answers are inside you. They always have been. And she's just helping you remember the way home. Gate 4. The inner awakening, when the heart speaks louder than the mind. There is a moment soft, elusive but unmistakable, when something inside you shifts. Not because of what someone said, not because of logic, but because your heart suddenly recognizes something your mind has spent years trying to deny. Sagittarius, this is the moment when the dream becomes more than just a dream. This is the moment when you finally stop asking, was it real? And instead begin whispering, I know now. Because what your mother brought to you through that strange, beautiful dream wasn't just comfort. It was a key, a vibration, a calling, a homecoming. This is the truth that so many struggle to accept. Real awakening is not a thought. It's not a belief you read in a book or an idea that clicks after enough analysis. Real awakening is felt. It opens you like light through a crack in stone. It doesn't wait for permission. It moves through your body before your mind even catches up. And Sagittarius, you are ready. The signs have been there. In your sudden stillness, in the way your breath slows when you remember her, in how the tears no longer sting like salt, but feel like soft rain falling on something long parched. You used to fear the grief. You used to think, if I let myself feel all of this, I'll never get back up. But now you see it differently. Now you understand that her message wasn't here to pull you back. It came to move you forward. Her dream didn't come to keep you tied to the past. It came to realign you with your purpose. Because Sagittarius, your path has never been about staying still. You are the seeker, the wanderer, the wild arrow always in flight. But even the most fearless traveler needs direction. And this time that direction comes not from a map or a book or a life coach. It comes from a voice you haven't heard in years. A voice you thought you lost. Her voice. Inside you. She may not have said anything in the dream, but her presence, her gaze, her touch, her silence was the message. And now you feel it as a hum in your chest. A knowing that doesn't need to be explained. This is the call of the soul. And now it's time to answer. Maybe you've been delaying something. A decision. A conversation. A change. Maybe you've been afraid to trust yourself again. To believe that you're strong enough, wise enough, ready enough. Maybe a part of you still thinks, I'm not who she believed I could be. But here's the miracle she's trying to show you. You already are. She didn't come to the dream to fix you. She came to remind you of your light, of your courage, of the sacred purpose you carry, even when you forget how to name it. This awakening is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world made you forget. And Sagittarius, your soul has always known how to navigate by stars others don't see. Now, with her spirit walking beside you, that navigation becomes clearer and quieter. It won't shout. It won't demand. It will guide you with a gentle force. A nudge in your chest, a quiet pull in your gut, a thought that won't go away even when you try to explain it logically. That's how soul speaks. That's how she speaks. And when you start to live in alignment with this inner guidance, things begin to shift. You no longer crave validation from places that can't see you. You no longer chase distractions that keep you from your truth. You begin to take steps, not always big, not always loud, but steps that feel like home. That is the awakening. That is the dream's purpose. And no, it won't always be easy. This path will still challenge you. It will still demand your faith. But this time you won't be walking alone. Because now every step forward carries her imprint. And perhaps most healing of all, your own heart begins to speak back. You begin to forgive yourself. You begin to trust your own rhythm. You begin to look in the mirror and see not just your reflection, but her strength looking back. I remember a Sagittarius named Anya who shared this part of her journey with me. After dreaming of her mother, standing in a field of wildflowers holding a mirror, she woke with an ache in her chest. Not sadness, not fear, just ache. She didn't understand the dream. Not until days later, when she stood in front of her own bathroom mirror and saw herself differently. I realized, she said, I had become the woman she always hoped I would. I just hadn't let myself see it. That is what awakening does. It gives you back to yourself. And in that process your grief softens. Not because you no longer miss her, but because you no longer feel separated from her. She's no longer gone. She is integrated, alive in your intuition, your kindness, your fierce desire to grow and heal. Not just for yourself, but for others too. So the next time you dream of her, Sagittarius, don't wake up with doubt. Wake up with reverence. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, I hear you. Then ask, what now? Because now the journey begins again. This time not alone, but with her hand in yours, unseen but unmistakably present. You are not the same person who fell asleep. You are now someone who remembers. And from that remembrance, your next step reveals itself. Sagittarius, she came to awaken the fire you've been afraid to relight. Now it's your turn to rise, to live, to become. Conclusion. The dream was a door, and you walked through it. Sagittarius, you've traveled far in this journey. Through memory, through feeling, through the quiet mystery of the dreamscape. And now you stand on the other side of something invisible but sacred. The moment when you stopped doubting and started remembering. The dream wasn't just a message. It was a mirror. It showed you that the bond between you and your mother was never broken, only transformed. That she doesn't just live in your past. She lives in your breath, in your bravery, in the way you keep choosing life even when it hurts. And maybe now, for the first time in a long while, you don't feel so alone. You've seen her. You've heard her. And more importantly, you've felt her. That is the beginning of something new. A life not shaped by absence but by presence. A path not haunted by what's gone, but illuminated by what still remains. Let this be the promise you carry forward. Her love didn't end. It evolved, and it walks with you still. If this journey touched your soul, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who dreams in silence, and subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom. There is so much more to uncover, and you are never alone in this space. The dream was the beginning. Now live the message.